Isn't that lovely?
I didn't get much,
Oh, no?
but my nose isn't that sensitive.
Oh.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Chic Naturalist Club. Meeting here in this little church in the downtown. I guess this used to be the town hall, and who knows what was here before.
Post office.
The post office, well. And what was it?
Police station too.
But what was it,
Really?
2,000 years ago?
Oh.
In the days when
That's
Mi'kmaq were the only ones of this land. But we think about all our history when we stop in a spot like this inside with the beautiful day shining in upon us, a beautiful spring day. So welcome one and all. My name is Jeff White. It's good to welcome you to this monthly meeting, which does happen to be later on in the evening will be our annual meeting. And I even have on paper some agendas and a couple of reports, and some of you are in an email, you got our minutes and so forth, and we'll carry on with that fairly simple annual meeting when we get to that in an hour or so from now. But shortly we'll have our main program of the evening. I like to start with a quotation, as you know, and so I found a good one. I don't know if I read this when I was 8 years old from the Cub book.
Oh.
But it says there's a little section about outdoors. It doesn't matter where you live in Canada, whether it be in the country, a village, a town, or even a city, somewhere very near you, near your home, there is bound to be a park, open fields, or woods to play in and explore. Why not get out and enjoy this wonderful country of ours? So get out on a hike, a picnic, camping, cycling, swimming, boating, or on a special purpose expedition. How about a conservation good turn, or an anti-pollution cleanup, or build bird feeding stations, or just cook a meal over an open fire? All good advice from a book first published the year I was born. It's good advice ever since.
Just a few years ago.
Just a few. Yeah. Anyway.
Was that your book? When?
That was my book, the 1 year I was in Cubs. Yeah. It says it's only 50 cents. I think it's worth more than that. What's in it? We're going to start right into our program with Estelle Drisdelle shortly, and I'm going to call upon Peter to introduce her.
Sackville has some extraordinary people, some young people that have been involved in many amazing things. They've put together programs around the world and locally, and Estelle was part of that group, where she was originally part of the Community Forest International. She's involved in Open Sky now. She is involved in community gardens. And she also has Understory Farms, which is out in Port Elgin, and she also makes tea, or gathers herbs to
grows them, gathers them.
Yeah. And so she's been involved in the natural world most of her life, and it's a real pleasure that she could come. And I welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to me about my hikes, because I love hiking. So this is going to be about hiking in the Gaspésie, especially the Chic-Chocs, but there's actually other mountain ranges that I'll talk about. Chic-Choc is actually a Mi'kmaq word for an impenetrable barrier, because the north side of this mountain range is often a 90-degree cliffside, and then down into the valley into the St. Lawrence River. So that is why it is named the Chic-Chocs. That's from north to south, and you can travel along it east to west. So I'll talk lots more about that. So this mountain range is part of the Appalachian Mountains, and it's in Gaspésie that you can see part of up here, and the little blue square is where the Chic-Choc mountain range is. And the map below is where I've hiked. So I've hiked not only in Gaspésie Park, but also the Métain Wildlife Reserve and the Chic Wildlife Reserve that are on either side of the park. And I've started on the very left side of this map and walked all the way across to the right side. And I've done some hiking down below as well. So this isn't a great image, but I liked how it showed where the mountain ranges were. You can see in the dark green where the national park is, Gaspésie Park. It's a provincial park, but everywhere in Quebec it's a national park. And you see the Chic mountain range and also the McGurgle mountain range. So both of those mountain ranges are geologically distinct. And they have very interesting ecosystems and landscapes and vistas as you hike across them. And they're very, very important ecologically for caribou, which I'll talk about later, and many, many plants. This is just what you find when you go on the park website. This is the park map. And you can see in the yellow, this is the International Appalachian Trail that runs through the park. And that's where I've done a multi-day backpacking tour on that trail, but also within the park, there's many other day hikes that you can do as well. So it has lots to offer depending on what you want, but most of the hikes are pretty challenging because of the rugged landscape. You have everything here from Arctic tundra, or not Arctic tundra, alpine tundra to subalpine zones into valleys. You have alpine bogs and alpine lakes, and then you're down into the valleys where there's rivers as well. So you're kind of seeing all those ecosystems as you hike through this park. And just for anyone that doesn't know, the Appalachian Trail, the Appalachian Mountains, so the Chickshaws are part of the Appalachian Mountains that runs from all the way in southern US, all the way up through Gaspésie and then into Newfoundland, and the Chickshaws are just a small part of that range. The Appalachian Trail runs through the US, and then you get into the International Appalachian Trail that runs through New Brunswick, up into Gaspésie, through the park, to Gaspé, and then up into Newfoundland as well. The trail's not very well maintained in New Brunswick. The group kind of fell apart in 2019. It's somewhat maintained in the Gaspésie, and it's obviously very well maintained in the park. I would like to hike some of the other parts of the Appalachian Trail, but I have heard that it's full of brambles, or you're walking mostly on roads or ATV trails when you're not actually in the park itself, or just on either side of it. And I believe, yeah, Mount Carlton, it just goes right beside Mount Carlton, which is New Brunswick's highest mountain. So one really interesting thing about the Chickshaw is that it is so different from anything else that we have here in the Maritimes, and it's only about 5 hours away from Sackville.
Mhm.
So you're seeing something really, really unique, a really, really unique ecological landscape, and it's not very far from here. So I'm not a geologist, but I did want to talk about some of the geology that you see when you're hiking through the park. Serpentine soils, frost wedging, which is when, I'll talk a little bit later about the serpentine soils. Frost wedging is when water goes into the rocks and the freeze thaw cracks it open. Polygonal soils, so that's pattern ground formed by the freeze thaw cycles. Rock streams, which you see here. This is an example. So often you're not walking on a flat trail, you're walking on something like this.
Oh.
Yeah, so very good on the ankles, you need your hiking poles. There's permafrost, rock glaciers, and block fields. And a block field is kind of what you see behind the text. And that's another geological thing that you see when you're up really high in the Alpine.
What is a rock glacier?
Good question. I don't know. I'm guessing it's a permanently frozen area that is just all rock. But I'm not sure.
Cool.
Yeah. This, I did research some of these things, and I know some of the things that I saw. I didn't see any rock glaciers, but this is from the Gaspésie website.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I started the hike, I started here at this auberge, and as you can see, it's very luxurious. So this is a hotel that's in the mountains of the Chickshaws, on just outside of the Gaspésie Park on the east side. And the only way that you can get there is to be shuttled in. There's only one road in, you can't drive your car, you have to take the shuttle. And then once you're there, you can do all kinds of outdoor adventures once you're there. So just a short 10-minute walk from this hotel, we saw things like this. And those were easy walks, so this is a really, if it's accessible to you, a really great way to see some of the Chickshaws without having to do all the backpacking. And then of course, at the end of your adventure, you can sit out on the deck, have a glass of wine, look at the waterfall, 70-foot waterfall, or 70-meter waterfall, I should say. And you can hike down to the waterfall. And so we spent our first night here enjoying the sauna, the hot tub, the dinner that was provided by a chef, and 3-course meal, and we all eat together as a group. And then the next day we set off on trail. So as we hiked out of the hotel down to the waterfall, and then we started hiking up and up and up. And this is my partner Damon, and he was seriously questioning why he came on this hike. This is day 1, and our packs are very, very heavy. So I actually have another picture, and he's bent over like this. But as you can see, as we start to hike up, the trees start to get shorter, and you can start to see the Chickshaw mountain range behind us. So there's obviously much, much more to hike that I have never seen. But it's obviously very beautiful and very rugged. And then soon after, we started to look at views like this. So we're getting more high up into more alpine zones. And this is what I mean by the Chickshaw mountain range. You're standing on the edge and it drops right down. And then in the distance, you can see the St. Lawrence River. So you're up in the mountains, you're in the alpine, and then you see rolling hills in the St. Lawrence River. So as the Mi'kmaq were trying to cross this, they kept coming on from both sides, these walls of cliffs that they couldn't cross.
What month of the year was this?
September.
Okay.
Early September.
Yeah.
I've hiked some of it so it's only open to hikers from end of June to the end of September because of the caribou, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then some places are only July 1st to Labor Day. And so what they have noticed with the caribou is if there's too many hikers, the caribou are spending too much time watching and walking and not enough time eating and building the reserves. And the caribou are an endangered species, so they're trying to make sure they're allowing people to enter this beautiful space, but without disturbing the wildlife ecology. I found this interesting geological map that kind of shows why it's so abrupt when you're in the Chickshaw Mountains. So you can see one type of geological pattern, and then obviously to the north there's a fault, and then the types of rock and soil changes drastically. So that's kind of why we're seeing that kind of landscape when you're hiking around the Chickshaw Mountains. And as you're hiking along the Appalachian Trail, you're kind of hiking just along this fault, so you're always looking out to the St. Lawrence River. So next we entered the park on the International Appalachian Trail after the auberge. And here you're seeing all kinds of different landscapes that I talked about before, the bogs, the lakes, the boreal type forests. Then you're up in the alpine again. A lot of this part on the west side or the east side of the west side of the park, you're seeing a lot more vegetation, and as you move further east, you're getting more into the alpine tundra, which has lots of interesting landscapes. So this is one of the landscapes you reach as you move further east, Mount Albert. It's at 1088 meters, and it only covers about 13 kilometers squared. And as you can see, the rocks are very red, and there's no trees at all, and very little shrubs, only low-growing shrubs and certain plants, which I will talk about later. So these are the serpentine soils. So these soils were pushed up from below the ocean floor during the formation of the Appalachian mountain range. And this in particular is the mantle and the Earth's crust, and this was very resistant to weathering and erosion, so it actually kept the tabletop mountains. So you can see in this photo all the tabletop mountains, and serpentine soils accumulate a lot of heavy metals, so only certain types of plants can grow there, and a lot of plants can't grow there at all. So this is why you're only seeing a little tiny bit of vegetation, but it's so beautiful to be up there, and it's so different from anything I've ever seen. It almost looks like you're in Arizona or somewhere like that.
Is it similar to the west coast of Newfoundland? There's a red rocky area.
Mhm.
I can't remember the term.
I think they call them the tablelands, isn't it? Some of the tables.
Yeah, and it might be serpentine soils as well. They're very rare soils in the world, but they are found here. I'm not sure about the ones in Newfoundland. So this is day 5 of our 88-kilometer hike, and as you can see, I'm very happy to be there. And I'll talk about these cool plants that I saw while I was there. And also, as you're hiking, this is the trail. You can see the trail marker right there. So it's a rock scramble. You come up onto the tablelands, you cross it, and then it's a rock scramble back down into the valley. And then as you get into the valley, you start getting further away from these soils, and you start to see more vegetation. So this is just a map of Mount Albert, so it's actually a very small portion. This is the only portion in the park that has those special soils. Very important to caribou. And you can only hike on the north side of this mountain, so you can either hike across it from the International Appalachian Trail, or there is an 18-kilometer day hike where you can hike kind of up here on this side of the mountain, which is also very beautiful. So there is a day hike where you can see Mount Albert. And again, you can only hike certain times a year because they don't want to destroy the ecosystems. And the south part of the mountain is not accessible at all, which I think is very important. I do believe people in conservation should be together. We shouldn't keep people out. But it is important to make sure that we're maintaining these ecosystems.
Mm.
Now we're on Mount Jacques Cartier at 1270 meters. I did this for the first time last summer, and it was a bit foggy and rainy. So here is on the top of the mountain, and we are lucky to see a caribou. And in 2022, there were only 34 caribou in the Chic Mountains. So to be able to see one is kind of amazing. We kept our distance. And as you can see, this is the block fields that I talked about earlier. So the Chic Mountains are about 600 million years old. These McGurgle Mountains are about 380 million years old. So they're geologically distinct from each other. So they look very different. And what you see is these block fields. So the softer soil gets eroded off of these mountains, and you're just left with granite. And then the freeze-thaw cycles cause frost shatter. And then you get these block fields, which is just a long expanse of little tiny rocks, and often you're hiking on those rocks, and you have those little trail markers to follow. And during this hike, some of those trail markers got a lot smaller, and the trail wasn't so obvious.
Yeah.
And my friend who I was hiking with started to walk off trail, because it's very easy in the fog to lose your way and not be sure where the rock piles are. So it's also very important while you're hiking through here to make sure that everyone who's hiking is kind of aware of what's going on and not just following the leader. So I told him, I think it's over here, and got back on trail. But we started to walk down into like somewhere else, and it would be very easy to get lost up there. But anyway, this mountain range is very important for caribou, and they're eating the lichens and the mosses up here. And you can only access this mountain from 10 to 4 p.m. You have to get shuttled there, and only a certain time of year, like July 1st to Labor Day as well. And again, they're just wanting to make sure they're not disturbing the caribou too much.
What, in terms of that, your hiking, what, for navigating in the fog and that, what did you do compass and maps or digital stuff or?
No, just my eyes.
Just
Yeah.
knowing that.
I mean,
how it
I
was
think
marked.
that would have been a great idea, but we did not do that. We had our phones. You don't always get
Yeah.
cell signal
Yeah.
up there.
Get reception.
But it is very well maintained, so
Mhm.
just kind of keeping your wits about you and don't get too far from a trail marker if you don't see the next one.
I was
So
just gonna ask that.
a bit about the caribou. So it's woodland caribou, and you can see this is where the Gaspésie caribou are. So they are the same species as the other woodland caribou, but they're a completely isolated population because they don't interact with the other population of caribou at all. So they are known as a subspecies of Gaspésie caribou. And then you can see the caribou throughout Canada and the different types of species of caribou. And the caribou used to be in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, but when European settlers came, they started destroying the forest land. That was their habitat. And also it allowed for deer to come in, and deer carry a brain parasite that affected the caribou but don't affect the deer. So that really diminished their population until they're only in this part of the Gaspésie. This is their range. In the red is the range of the caribou. So they're really focused on the high mountain ranges of Gaspésie Park and just outside of the park as well, down here, which I did hike there as well. So they really rely on those high alpine areas for their survival. They kind of go up there, they eat what's up there, and they're away from predators. So that's why it's really important. And that's why this kind of area is really monitored and maintained to make sure they support those populations. So yeah, as I said, they were in the old forest of New Brunswick until we logged it all. And we reduced their habitat and expanded the range of the white-tailed deer. So they frequent in alpine and subalpine zones. And they're calving in late spring, so May, June. That's why no one can hike in that region during that time, because it's really important that they're not being disturbed during that time. So in the winter, they're feeding on lichens and mosses and shrubs in the alpine zone by digging holes in the snow. And then once the snow gets too deep, they start moving down into subalpine zones. So they're up in the alpine zones again because there's no predators up there, so it's safer for them. So they stay up there as long as they possibly can before they go down into the subalpine zone. And they're eating tree lichens mostly in balsam fir stands. In the summer, they're eating some of those other shrubs, juniper, balsam fir, horsetail. They do eat the bunchberries that you see here. So all these pictures were taken in the Gaspésie. And all of this would be their habitat. And this is interesting because it's bunchberry growing on Mount Logan, one of the taller mountains in the park. And usually we see that in the understory of the canopy of the forest, and we're seeing it up here, totally open in the alpine tundra, in the block field. So obviously there's some springs that are coming up and some plants are able to grow. So one thing I noticed the first time I came to this park was all the trees were dead and brown as I drove to the west side of the park, as I got shuttled to start my hike. And this is because of the spruce budworm, which we all know about. Spruce budworm actually defoliates balsam fir, weird name. In 2020, 13.5 million hectares were impacted in just the Gaspésie. And this is, I'm sure it's more now, and this is also really hard for the caribou that depend on these ecosystems once the snow gets too thick up in the alpine zone. And now all the trees and the lichens they eat are gone. So this is another problem that this very small population faces. And as you hike through there, what was once a forest canopy is now lots of brambles and really early pioneer species. And you could really feel the sun, even in September, blasting on those mountainsides. So definitely a big fire risk and erosion risk as well. This is what's south to the park, known in English as Seven Peaks, because you cross 7 peaks, you can see in this map down here. Often you're completely above the tree line on this hike, except for the very first part, and then you're walking along the 7 peaks, and often you're walking along the spine of the trail, of the mountainside. And there are a few plants that are poking out when you first start the hike, and then as you cross each peak, it gets more and more barren. And again, this is a really important ecosystem for the Gaspésie caribou. And I saw really interesting plants, which I'll talk about soon on this hike. And you could do just part of this hike, so I think the whole thing is 6 kilometers in and 6 kilometers out. But they were hard 6 kilometers. But you can hike up just a few peaks and turn around. It's definitely worth going to see, so this is a great day hike if you're just looking for something like that. And I hiked this in July, so these pictures are from then. So some of the plants. So bunchberry, which I showed you that picture in the block fields. This is deeper down into the valleys where it's more green. That's more what we're used to. And interestingly, I saw this pretty high up in the alpine, pink sepals on the bunchberry.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was really cool. And
Is it the same species? Do you
it's-
know?
I think so. I read that the sepals turn pink in high elevations or cold environments, so it's cut off a little bit.
I've seen that once or twice rare, just
Have you?
randomly in Nova Scotia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
In a high
No,
altitude area? No. Yeah, I've never seen it before. I asked a few of my biologist friends if they had, and they hadn't seen it
Yeah.
before. So that was something really cool to see.
Yeah.
Definitely growing differently. It could be like a different variety of bunchberry. Fireweed, of course. Early pioneer species. Can grow anywhere. That's why it's there, hanging on. Beneficial, obviously, to birds and butterflies. Can quickly dominate any cleared land and grow in rocks, obviously. So it's very important that we have these pioneer species, as most of you probably know. So it can grow in dried and moist soils, which I've seen. And it helps stabilize soils. So although we might see it as something we don't want because it's an indicator of what's happening on the landscape, it's also very important. And as a herbalist and a person who makes tea, I have fireweed in my teas, and it's a really great anti-inflammatory, the leaves of fireweed. So most plants have some medicine or poison, depending. Another really interesting plant that I saw, I was like, is this bearberry growing up here? Which normally, you don't see it very often in our forests. But I did see it on this mountainside, and when I did a little research, I found that it does grow. There's an alpine bearberry growing.
so it's like a slightly different one than the one we'd see here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a different species. Yeah. Uva ursi is the
Oh,
one
yes.
that we
Yeah.
would see down here. So it's found in tundra and alpine heaths. The mi'kmaq used it medicinally, the bark and the berries. The berries are edible, but it's so rare I wouldn't really plan to eat any of those. I kind of just want to leave it for the birds and the ecosystem. And it does require moist soil, so again, it's probably a spring coming up that's allowing the plants to grow in this zone, because you can see everywhere around it is just rock. And I found this map that showed its where it grows within Canada and the United States. So it actually grows in quite a few places, but obviously not in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia. Critically endangered in Maine, imperiled in Maine. Probably Mount Katahdin area and along the Appalachian Range. Black crowberry. I actually didn't know what this plant was when I saw it, but this is what I do when I hike and take pictures of plants.
Yeah.
It's a low-growing evergreen shrub that can tolerate dry to wet acidic soils. So it grows in peat bogs and mossy areas, but also on the top of a mountain. And it's a larvae host for the northern blue butterfly and the Arctic blue butterfly, which wouldn't be in this range, but further up in the Arctic. And it's very useful to birds, as is any berry for foraging.
Is there a red crowberry too?
I'm not sure.
I'm just wondering.
There is one. It's quite rare, at least in Nova Scotia. It's really rare. Yeah.
Have any of you seen crowberry growing around here?
Yeah.
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 In some coastal places,
Oh, really?
coastal barrens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And sort of rocky tops of places
Yeah.
I've seen it as well.
And then it is sprinkled through bogs too.
Yeah, that's weird that it grows on rocky, exposed areas and
Yeah.
in bogs.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Well,
I found that
poor-
with quite a few of these
Poor
plants.
nutritional
Yeah.
substrate.
Yeah.
Acidic soils help.
Do
Right.
they? Yeah.
Acidic soils.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Is that dwarf Labrador tea? Oh.
Yeah, here we go. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Way to call it.
So this was the cutest Labrador tea I've ever seen, and again, we usually see it in bogs, and here it is growing up on the side of the mountain. So, yeah, it's found in alpine heaths again. The hairs underneath actually help it retain moisture, so this is probably why it can grow in these environments. And it's a shorter height and smaller leaves. Everything is just smaller when you're in the alpine zone, much like the trees that start to get shorter and shorter the higher elevation you get. And it can be used as a tea, but only in small quantities. So a lot of plants are like this. You can ingest them, wild plants I mean, but they should only be in small quantities because it can cause toxicity in large quantities. So some people might learn about Labrador tea and then start taking too much and end up with a lot of health issues as a result. For animals and humans, it can cause toxicity. But anyway, really interesting. It's any plant in the heath family can cause this, but especially rhododendrons. This one is neat. Blue mountain heath or purple mountain heather. I saw this flowering in July. It's about 15 centimeters in height, so very small. Grows in boreal alpine regions, so not up in the alpine tundra, a little bit lower. And it's found across the northern hemisphere. So you can see on this map all the places that it's found in the northern hemisphere.
Big in Scandinavia, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I saw it or something, a similar species on Gross Moor.
Oh,
in
really?
Newfoundland.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So this is so interesting when you're hiking in new places and you get to meet these new plants and
Yeah.
eventually figure out what they are. Blueberry, of course, really good for wildlife and hungry hikers. So this is in the Gaspésie Park, and we're actually at a pretty high elevation when we found these blueberries. There's many different wild varieties, which I didn't realize. So it often grows in alpine bogs where there is a little bit of moisture, but it can grow in marginal soils. And of course we see it lots in our fields, on our field edges. Acidic and shallow soils it's often found. So you can tell right here where we found the blueberries, it's actually quite rocky. So this is where the caribou would come down into easily from the alpine zone and start foraging on all these other plants. And they can easily get back up to the alpine zone if needed.
Is the plant in the upper right corner, is that Labrador tea that we're getting?
It looks like it again,
Like a
yeah.
rhododendron, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
I'm not sure, but it could.
It looks sort of like it.
Yeah, it does. You can kind of see a blurry version of it too right here.
Curled under.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, out
Yeah.
of focus, yeah.
But a lot of laurels look like Labrador
Okay,
tea
okay.
also.
Yeah.
Can't tell what if the bottom is as fuzzy as.
Exactly.
It's a little tricky.
Yeah. Pearly
Wow.
everlasting, of course, saw lots of this. A pioneer species again. It's a host plant for butterfly larvae, and it can grow in rocky, sandy, marginal soils. You saw lots of it. It's very beautiful. Again, in that spruce budworm kill, you saw lots of pearly everlasting. And again, of course, it's medicinal. I really like this plant. Makes a really nice dried flower.
Mhm.
Now we're back up on Mount Albert in the serpentine soils. We're actually on just before you come up onto the tabletop, and there's a whole bunch of springs coming out of the mountain in the place that we saw this, so Harebell. So it's found in a variety of elevations, so it grows up high and down low, rocky areas, meadows, and shorelines. I found it on the north slope of Mount Albert as we were hiking up, and it's a very important food source for hummingbirds, bees, and many beneficial insects. And this was September, so it's probably at the end of its flowering. There's probably a lot more at different times of year. Moss Companion. I thought this one was so cute. It kind of looks like Creeping Thyme. So it's a ground cover on rocky, rich soil, and it actually has a taproot that can go in wherever there's a break in the rocks and go into the rocks to access the nutrients. It can obviously grow in serpentine soils, so I saw this on top of Mount Albert. And it blooms July to August. I'm here in September, so it's obviously just finishing blooming. And it grows in little mounds right on top of the rock. So that was it's in the carnation family too. Pinks are another flower that people grow in their garden, and it's called cushion pink. Yeah. Dianthus, yeah.
This plant's in Newfoundland too, isn't it? Am I right?
Oh yeah, in Grossmorn or?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it there somewhere.
Yeah, people
Probably-
grow this in their gardens as well.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That just goes around where I live.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. This particular one.
No, I don't know if it's that
Okay.
one, but.
Yeah, something similar. Yeah, neat. Alpine thrift. Usually grows actually on rocky shores, but it's up here, and it can obviously handle serpentine soils. It has high drought tolerance, which is probably good for this Arctic or alpine tundra. And it flowers May to July. Again, it's September, so it's just kind of at the end of its flowering, going to seed.
Oh, yeah.
Juniper. So we saw lots of juniper as we came off of Mount Albert and started to get further away from the serpentine soils. We started to see more tamarack and spruce, and things like juniper down there. It's common on the rocky soils in the Choc Mountains, and obviously I mentioned before that the caribou depend on it as a food source. And it was growing a lot there's a river that runs through this valley, and it was growing a lot by the rivers there. Of course, it's done flowering, and now it's producing berries. And twisted stalk. I actually misidentified this when I first saw it. I thought it was false Solomon seal, and later I learned that it's twisted stalk. I just took that picture of the flowers from the internet so that you could see what it looks like in flower. There's two species, rose twisted stalk and watermelon berry or clasping leaf twisted stalk. I'm not sure which one this is because it's a new plant to me. I found this in the subalpine zone when I was hiking in the Chic Mountains. Again, yeah, similar appearance, false Solomon seal, so that's what I thought it was. I was incorrect. It has zigzag stems, alternate leaves, and pink bell-shaped flowers that you can see. And it's an understory perennial plant. So you obviously need a lot more moisture. It's not going to grow up high in the alpine zones. And that is my presentation. So I hope you enjoyed. So here is an example of an alpine bog. So they often have these tracks that you can walk on, so you're not disturbing. And of course, this is one of the amazing views that you see while you're up there.
Lovely.
Wow.
Thank you.
What are the predators of the caribou? Are there wolves there?
Coyotes. There are coyotes
Oh.
there. Yeah.
So they team up and take down the caribou?
Yeah, they would. Yeah. And bears.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bears.
Mhm. Probably rare that it would be a bear, but coyotes for sure. The first time I hiked in the Chickshaw, they called me and said there were a few coyotes that were kind of biting people on the trail.
Kind of biting?
Yeah, yeah. And are we sure we still want to go? And we're like, yeah, we're fine, it's fine.
No problems?
So that's another issue of you have hikers coming through, maybe they're leaving garbage or dropping food, and then coyotes start to learn that the hikers have food, and so they started to get very brazen.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to find the coyote and they couldn't. That was causing the issue, but we didn't encounter anything while we were there.
Did you even see any?
Didn't even see any.
Right.
Saw moose, saw
Oh, okay.
caribou that one time, but that was it.
What's your favorite footwear on this hike?
Hiking boots that go up above your ankle. If we go back to the very first photo, you can see I have like Columbia hiking boots.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like sneakers, but they have more support and they're waterproof. I think
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
really
ask,
important.
waterproof?
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Um,
you just take one pair?
Just one pair
Mhm.
and hope for the best. Because you're carrying all your stuff for 5 days, you really don't have room for much else while you're
So you
there.
have a tent?
So in the park, they have shelters along the way that you can share with other hikers. So we did the shelters. So you can go from shelter to shelter, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about your food. You don't have to hang your food. You don't have to carry your tent. But you can camp if you want to. They also have campgrounds.
Mm.
You say you don't have to carry your food.
You have to carry your food.
Food,
You don't
okay.
have to worry about it when you're in the shelter. You don't have to hang it
You're right.
Yeah,
Right.
to keep it away from wildlife.
Um,
Do you, I'm assuming you have to have reservations very far in advance?
Yeah, not too far in advance for the shelters, because they fit probably 10 hikers. Some of them don't fit that many, and often people won't even bother reserving and just sleep on the floor in the corner. But when I called, I think I called in June for September, and they're like, oh yeah, you got lots of time. Like they weren't worried at all. The only thing that can book up is the shuttles. So the park does provide a shuttle service to get you around the park. So you can shuttle out to the end and walk back. And those can fill up because often they're just trucks because they're driving down like crazy dirt roads. Yeah, so those only fit 4 people. So those can fill up.
How long a trip was, did you say 5 days?
5 days.
And then they you shuttled up and you came back 5
Yeah.
days?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the first few days would have been the heaviest because you had the most food.
Yeah. My pack was so heavy the first day I had to put it on something to put it
To
on.
get it on, yeah.
Yeah. So you eat the heavy stuff first. And then by the end you're just eating whatever, peanut butter and granola bars, but it's great. Yeah.
What about water?
You have a filtration kit and you
Yeah.
fill up along the way. And on the map, they have points where you can access water, but you kind of have to be on the lookout too, to make sure you fill up before if you're at a water source, fill up there. So I have a filtration kit where you fill up a bag and it drip filters down into another bag and then you put that in your water bottle. And I also carry iodine if I'm not so feeling good about the water source. If it's really murky, I'll still filter it and then I'll add iodine as well. Yeah. Which you can only do so much of, but on a hike, you're doing about 3 drops into your bottle. That will kill anything that maybe made it through the filtration system. Any other questions?
So, obviously, I'm sure that their website and stuff would explain all this. You got like long, multi-day hikes, but then there's lots of day hike options you can get to and be shuttled to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like if I go here, so you drive up and now you're in the middle of the park. This is where like their center is. So from here you can do that Mount Albert hike that I talked about. That's 18 kilometers. That is a big day. But you can also drive up and around and start from here and do any hikes from there. I got a shuttle from here to Mount Jacques Cartier to hike up there. And that's a pretty doable hike. I actually got the shuttle up here and then walk back along here, but did that in a day. Depends how long you want to hike. So there are shorter and longer hikes depending on what you want to do. Yeah, and so you can drive around, go up to here and go like up to this mountain range or up to here, or you can drive all the way over to here. So there's lots of different options.
Was it just you and Damon, or you weren't part of a larger group?
No, it was
just
us.
the people in the shuttle.
Yeah, exactly.
And did the group did you all go to the same end point?
We did, but we lost each other. We went to, you don't have, like, there's many shelters along
Yes.
the way, and it depends which ones you choose.
Yeah.
So you could do them all, or you could skip some and have a longer day, so we
Yeah.
skipped a few along the way.
So people got spread out once you got started.
Exactly.
Yeah, because everyone has different speed.
Yeah,
And you were looking at plants all the time. So,
exactly.
so the keeners are,
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. We met one person, he was doing the entire, so in the Gaspé Z region, it's 650 kilometers along the Appalachian Trail, and he was doing the whole thing. And we thought we were hiking
Like
fast.
through hiking the thing.
Yes, through
yeah.
hiking. And he would
Okay.
like run by us. And he had all his gear, and like we thought we were fast, and he was just like gone. We actually saw him for a number of nights. He stayed in the same places we did, but he was like there hours before us.
So did he see anything along the way? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We kind of missed the good parts.
Yeah.
Goodness.
And often when we were on the trail, we didn't see that many people. Sometimes when you get close to some of these access points, you start to see a few more people. But when you're out here, or like way out here, you're not seeing anyone. So you really feel like you're out there.
Hmm.
And right here, so this is probably 3 days to get to there. There's showers, so that's also really nice. It feels so good.
Were there swimmable places?
There were the lake there, that big lake you could
Yeah.
swim, and this lake over here you could swim. A lot of these lakes are more alpine lakes, boggy,
Oh,
so
right.
you don't
Yeah,
really want to
not
go in
that
there. No,
Interesting.
no, no.
Well,
exactly.
interesting botanically, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there was probably many, many plants that weren't in flower, and so that
Yeah,
I missed. There's
yeah.
probably so many interesting plants in this region.
But then, like some of those alpine things, not many people would ever see because you're never allowed at the time they're blooming too,
Exactly,
probably
yes.
because of the caribou, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be a researcher or someone to get
Yeah.
up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Was it too high for deer? Did you see any deer?
I didn't see any deer. They would definitely be in the lower elevations and in the valleys, but they don't go up into the alpine zone. They're eating different things. They're eating more vegetation, where the caribou are eating the mosses and the lichens and things like that.
I often wondered if they cull the deer, like they cull the moose in Cape Breton, because
Yeah.
they're eating up all the browse and,
Yeah,
because of the rain
yeah, exactly.
affects the moose.
Yes. Oh, it does, okay.
Yeah.
I know they were doing some calling of predators in the south of the park in the Choc Wildlife Reserve. And they knew it wasn't the best. I'm not sure what they were calling, maybe coyotes. But they felt like it was the only option because they were seeing problems. The only thing with calling coyotes, which you guys probably know, they'll just have more pups. So it doesn't really work that well, but they felt like it was necessary. And they do allow hunting, not of caribou, in that wildlife reserve, the Chic Wildlife Reserve. There is a time where you can hunt. Maybe they're hunting deer as part of the calling as well.
Why did you choose September?
Not too hot, no bugs.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Because you can only hike it July to September, so September is a great month to hike. When we're not in a drought, unlike last year. But interestingly, the weather up here is very different. It rains a lot more here. So even though we were really dry down here, up in these mountain ranges, it was raining all the time because they're in a different weather pattern than we are.
Yeah, imagine July and August could be really hot.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Definitely.
So I don't think you showed us a photo of a bird. Did any
No.
birds catch your attention?
Less so. I'm starting. I have the app. What's the app called? Merlin app.
Merlin, yeah.
Exactly. But I don't really know my birds that well. Yeah.
It's like sort of like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
I was using
That's the
Merlin.
next thing.
I was using Merlin this morning myself.
Were you? Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna ask the same question.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Next time.
My husband and I climbed out the Jacques Cartier in
Oh, yeah?
July, and it was raining and cold and chilly. We saw
Mhm.
7 caribou,
Oh my gosh.
but not a big male like you saw.
Yeah.
We saw females and calves, and they were nursing.
Wow.
Wow. That's so
But,
special.
And we saw a common golden eye on the alpine lake.
Very nice. Have you hiked anywhere else around there?
No,
No.
no, just small day hikes.
Yeah. Mhm. Very nice.
It's nice to see your presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it makes me curious about to look at all the botany that's there and the birds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Is there anything you use to identify plants when you're out, or you just figure it out?
No,
He
the,
knows them all.
the books
Yeah.
are too big. You leave them in the car and you go back later.
Yeah.
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 Mhm. Was there anything you saw in the presentation that you had never seen before or didn't know about, plant-wise?
No. I don't think so.
No.
Twisted stock. Is that what that's called? Twisted
Yeah.
stock. Those are nice because those are around here too in
Mhm.
certain places, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mhm.
with the red berries, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Apparently they're edible too, but
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
the
What was that?
twisted stalk.
oh, rose twisted stock is
Yeah.
edible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they similar colored berries to, do the two twisted stalks have the same berry?
A red berry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And the false Solomon seal is also a red berry?
It is, but it's more long, I think.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
yeah. Now that I think of it.
When I was looking at those pictures, I was thinking the one on the left. I guess it was the one you saw with the red berries. I thought it looked like the leaves were really clasping around the stem. I thought that was probably the one with the white flowers.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was just guessing. And where we see that, like around here, I always see it right alongside a stream in the woods.
Oh,
Always
really?
beside a stream.
Okay.
Whereas the pink one is all over the woods.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I notice about
Yeah.
them around here.
What did you think that one was? The pink or the white?
Well, the one with the pink flowers was, but the red berries, I think
Yeah.
that was the white, just
Okay,
because the way
cool.
the leaves were really around the stem.
Yep. Mhm.
Like that.
Mhm. Very cool.
Not just clasping, but per.
Yeah, almost per
per-
foliate.
per
Yeah,
foliate.
or per whatever. Yeah.
Per something.
I don't know all those terms. Yeah.
I need to go hiking with you. It'd be so fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know the medicinal stuff, which I really don't know
Mhm.
about all the stuff around here.
Yeah.
I'd like to know so much
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have a question?
You mentioned boggy areas?
Yeah.
Did you come across like pitcher plants or cranberries?
No, nothing like that.
Oh,
No. Not to say they weren't there, because again, I'm there in September, and you can only walk on a
Oh,
certain
right,
area of the
so-
bog, so maybe they were there.
and sundews?
Didn't see any sundews. I've seen them around.
You wonder
here.
what like bog orchids or things might be out there that you don't see at that
Yeah.
time of
Not
year.
September
Exactly.
though.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
September. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
but June and July. you might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They probably have that information somewhere
Yeah.
at the park.
Or you
when
have to check,
it's
see
there.
what everyone's posted to iNaturalist from this.
Yeah.
Too would give you some hints, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would they post locations of where they found the plants?
Yes, but I mean, some plants then are, you know, if there's something rare or whatever, it's automatically obscured. Like
Yeah.
it's in this huge block
Oh,
somewhere,
gotcha,
right?
yeah.
That happens
Mhm.
a lot.
Yeah.
If
Makes
it's
sense,
rare
I guess.
or endangered or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gather there's cooperation, there's national and provincial parks that are. This
They-
is Park National, so I'm
Oh,
assuming
that's
it's fair.
provincial.
It's a provincial though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in
Okay.
Quebec, remember?
Yeah.
Quebec calls all their provincial parks, they call them all national.
Yes,
Quebec
exactly.
is
But-
national, so.
But there is Forillon Park is an, I
It's
think
a
that's
national
federal.
park. It is,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
federal national. It is.
Yes, okay.
And that's out on the tip of the
Yeah.
Gaspé Sea. Yeah. I like provincial parks better because I find they still have services, but a lot
So
less
informative.
infrastructure. Yeah. Where a lot of the federal national parks have a lot of roads going through it, and there's a lot more, like even think of Fundy. You can't really do a hike in Fundy without walking on a road at some point. So I find that with the national parks versus the provincial parks, even here. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me.
That was great, Estelle. It
Thanks.
was like, we were there 2 years ago in the Gaspé, and obviously, we did not see enough of it.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I can't wait to get back. And here's a
Okay.
highly valued, to Natural Naturals Club mug and a gift certificate.
Excellent, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thanks for coming in. Oh, and tell them about these teas.
Yes.
Oh.
So these are teas that I grow on my farm, and I dry them all, or some wild crafting of things like raspberry leaf and stuff like that. And they're from my farm for sale if anyone would like one. So I have different kinds here. Again, grown organically, completely grown on the farm, so 100% local.
Do you
Yep.
come to the market in Sackville?
I do, not all the time,
Yeah.
but I'm there periodically.
Or can we stop in on more extension and?
Yeah, yeah, with some notice.
Yeah. Sorry.
But you can.